So sometimes you spend more time thinking about a project than you might imagine before you actually get around to doing a project, because there's a lot of little things that have to be taken loose and dealt with. And here's kind of a good example. This set of header pipes has the alternator wire running through it, which is a hot wire. I can't have that hot wire shorting out while I'm working on it. So I disconnected the positive side of the battery, and now I'm disconnecting this hot wire here, which I'm going to set aside. The other thing that's got to be dealt with is there's a temperature gauge sending unit in the side of this head. And I'm going to have to take that loose, because that also goes right through this part of this exhaust manifold. And there's no way to get this over that other than to take that loose, which means I'm going to have to drain the radiator. So, you know, sometimes you think about a project, it's one thing if you can do it a little quick and easy. It's another if you have to, you know, disconnect the battery, drain the radiator, take the exhaust headers off, you know, dismantle the steering. I mean, it's kind of a lot, and I guess this is a pretty good time to do it. Now, I'm doing it down here in the back shed just because there's a lot of space down here and it's clean and it's pretty easy to work on from here. I had mentioned before that I was going to save the space that I had up in the other garage to actually do the working in. But I'm thinking right at the moment, this is a good place to do some assembly, which this is, and do the fabricating up there, because I'm going to have to fabricate mounts and things like that, which is, you know, usually a dirtier job. That's my alternator. This is not a one-wire alternator. That's kind of interesting. It is what it is. But I can leave the alternator on, but I do have to take off the wire. These header bolts are 3/8 inch. I thought they might be 10 millimeter, but they're not. They're 3/8. And I really hope they're not very tight, because this is an aluminum head. The last thing you ever want to do with an aluminum head is over tighten it. Now I'm going to go up to the house and get a long socket extension with a 3/8 on it. Before I do that, I want to see what size this temperature gauge here is going to be. And while I'm up there, I can grab what I'm going to need for that. And on a car like this, a lot of the time you don't know if it's going to be metric or not. And I've got a lot of tools down here that were in the back of the Rambler. They're not my best tools, but they're workable. That's a 5/8. Oh, I can't use a 5/8 because it's got to be open then. I can't use that one. This is close but no cigar. Let's see what it's got here. That is a 5/8 there. There's a block up under it. I say a block. There's a part that goes into the side of the head that I don't want to take out. I want to take the center sending unit out of that part. And that part is bigger than an 11/16, so I'm going to need to find, normally I'd say a 3/4, but you know, like I say, it could be metric, so it's not a 17. I don't know if I got a bigger, I don't know if I got anything as big as a 3/4, but I'm guessing that's what it's going to be. So, let's see. That's going to be 11/16. Alright, so I'll run up to the house and get me a 3/4 and a 3/8 and a long socket and things like that. And I'll be back. I probably want a bigger 5/8 too. So 3/4, 5/8, 3/8. 3/8, yeah, 3/16, 3/8. Okay, I'll be right back. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take the header loose. Wait a minute. Hold the horses. What was I thinking? Actually, I don't have to take off the temperature gauge. What was? You know, sometimes when I look at things, and maybe it's the dyslexia or the ADD, but I see things that aren't real. Now, I was certain this was above that and ran through this space right here, and it's not. So that means I don't have to break the water jacket. So getting this header off here is going to be a piece of cake. If none of these bolts are stuck in such a way that they would strip, which is always something you have to think about when you're working with something, any kind of engine that has aluminum parts, motorcycle engine or anything, boat motor, whatever. If it's aluminum, just go with an easy hand because it's pretty easy to strip bolts out. That includes like an intake manifold, you know. These Edelbrock intake manifolds. It's pretty easy to strip one of them where it has a threaded part. So far, these are coming out good. I don't know why I was certain I was going to have to take that water connector off, but I don't. I don't know why my eyes was looking at that wrong. They were. Okay, so now these bolts, I want to keep handy by. These are special little bolts for this header. And the reason they are is because there's not a lot of space along the side over here. Like if you had a bigger bolt, a bigger wrench wouldn't fit up against this pipe. So I'm going to take loose both ends first and then loosen the middle. That way I won't have it trying to fall down on me if I work from one end to the other. I'm going to put these right up on top of these air cleaner because the car's not going to get cranked or moved while I'm doing this. And while I've got this header off, I'm going to try to split that end off and see if I can get a muffler to fit in there. Honey Baby's not in love with the loudness of this car, and to be honest with you, I'm not really all that much. I like to be able to hear the radio or have a conversation, you know. I think having a loud car it's okay in some spots, but I'd rather have one that's not quite so loud but maybe really sounds good. Like I think that frat rod, I think that sounds really good, you know. It's got those cherry bombs on it, and to me that's a real good sounding car. It's not so loud. Of course, I don't have a radio in that car, but you know, even so, me and Honey Baby can ride along and talk to each other pretty much. I mean, you got wind noise and road noise, and you know, when you're in a wide open car like that, you got all the noise. Ain't no way around it. Just have to. And I don't mind it either. That's the kind of car that is. But this one here with power steering, if it's a little quieter, boy, this would be a really nice car to drive to church or drive anywhere, really. It's an enjoyable car to drive. I decided to put this power steering thing on here rather than the Rambler for a couple of reasons, but one of them is I drove this thing yesterday, and these big wide tires, they're actually quite hard to steer even when the wheels are going around. Generally when the wheels are rolling, something without power steering will turn pretty good, but in this case where these big fat tires, not so much. So I was thinking, well, it would be easier to do this than it would the Rambler, because on the Rambler all the steering stuff is down under the motor. And that gets me where I got everything that I want to work on right close by. Yeah. You see the steering pump is right here. And on this car, I'll bring y'all over and let you look. On this car, the shaft out of the steering pump has a knuckle. Now this is a big fat knuckle with a kind of a long spacer right here. And then there's a thing, this thing here bolts to the side of the frame, which ties this into place for this hard long turn right here. Now my thinking is that's probably about as long as this thing is down here. In fact, we grab a tape measure and I'll check and see if my thesis is correct. But my thinking is I could put this down here, anchor it to the frame. It would serve the same purpose as that. Stabilizing the point of reference to go up the shaft. I think so. Here's my tape measure. So, from the tip of that joint to here is 7 3/4 inches. Now this part right here is, oh, it's about 6. It's about 6.5. Now I'm measuring from here, so I'm going to have a shaft out here too. But yeah, so I need to get this off of here, yeah, which is going to mean a couple things. Unbolting. Oh, it looks like it's welded. Mike, did you weld that on there? Did you really, buddy? No. Yes, no, yeah, he did. Yeah, it's welded. Thank you, Mike. Oh, but there's a bolt in from the bottom side. Maybe the bottom side ain't welded. See, this one has a disconnector. That's not welded right there, and that's going to be a, what is that going to be? That's going to be a 9/16 maybe, or a half, one or the other. Not a half. I mean, not a 9/16, so it must be a half. So let's go under the car. I'm about to mention I have a nice clean floor here. I was down here just the other day sweeping the floor. Alright. That's actually smaller than a half right there. That comes loose good. It's going to be a, I believe that's going to be a 7/16. I was just looking at one a while ago in this box here. Right here. So, can y'all see me? Hey, here I am. Right. So, might be metric. And then you have this part that's bolted to the frame, which is a big thing. There. So that's a half up there. This is, let's guess. Let's do our best transfer over to metric in my mind. It's going to be bigger than a 10. Might be a 14. That's what I'm going to guess. 14, 13. Well, there's a 13. I'll just take 1 or 2 under with me. There's a 15. I always grab 2 or 3 wrenches and take them under there with me. There's a 14. Let's get us a 13 too while we're at it, and then we'll have all the bases. It's a 12. I don't think it'll be as small as a 12, but it might. Since it's there, I'll take that under there with me. That's 13. Okay, let's go see what it is. Well, it was not a 13, so it must be 12. It's not a 12. Smaller than that. So it must be an 11. That's what it is. Okay, so I'm just gonna see if I can turn this. I'm guessing Mike put that on there pretty dang hard, which I would have too, because steering is pretty important. I might could. I've got a little extension bar that I think I might have brought with me. I meant to. Yeah, here it is right here. Let's see if this will fit on the end of that. Yeah, nope. Nope. Won't. But I could bump it with a hammer, and I might have a hammer close by. Otherwise, I'll go up and get a socket with a longer handle. Alrighty. I'll run up there and get an 11mm socket and a hammer. They make these Harbor Freight tools. I got some over here. They make them where you can't hardly read the sizes on them. I don't know why they do that. Maybe it's just cheaper not to stamp them clearly where you can see what they are. Alright, I'll run up the house and get, what did I say, an 11mm socket. And a hammer. I'll be right back. Move y'all back here a little bit, maybe you can see. I think it's hard to see what I'm doing because I'm down under the car. I'm loosening up a bracket. So, maybe kind of from back here, get a little better idea of what I'm doing. Yeah. What I may wind up doing is remaking a joint out of two joints. They wind up taking this one and the other one that goes onto the motor, marrying them together with the welder. That bolt is out right there. And once again, I'll put that up on the breather. Now I want to get this one loose, and it's going to require, I could also address this one. It's going to be a 1/2 inch. Which I might be able to do with this right here. Now that would be tightening it, wouldn't it? Which I don't want to do. I want to be loosening it. That's welded. That's going to be a problem. Yep, it's going to be a problem. But I can cut the whole shaft and put a new one in, but this ain't going to do me any good what I'm doing here. So, I guess the next thing I can do is take that part loose where it's attached on the frame. That's going to require a big something, big kind of open-end wrench. Get to the part that I can see. Okay, this is loose. The bolt is out of the part that goes into the steering box. This little side piece here that was holding that is loose. This is welded together, and there's also a weld. Actually, you can see it on the back of the head of that down there. What I am probably going to have to do is to just cut this shaft, because there's no way to get that loose. But if I cut the shaft here, and then I get down here, and I might be able to take a chisel and chisel that little weld off. Thankfully, Mike didn't weld that real hard. It's just a little spot weld. I might can knock that off with a chisel and then hammer this off of here. And what I'm going to wind up doing is making my part. Well, it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a long story, but I can't do it today. I got to quit because we got something that we planned to do. So I got to go get cleaned up and get ready for that. But, you know, that's a good start. And I'll come back to that next time. And by God. golly, we'll take it from there. Thank y'all for hanging out with me, and I hope you're having a good day. And if you're not, I don't know what to tell you. Praise God. That always makes me feel better. See ya.